Hey, that's right. It is time for another edition, another episode of Committed to Growth. And when is the last time that you have taken a moment, a time, a pause, a break, a breather to grieve something, whether it be a person or whether it be a job or just the expectation of what you thought something was to be? When have you taken time to actually grieve it, to release it? Well, we're going to get into all of that right now. Let me tell you this first. My name is Monica Michelle. I'm your host, Monica Michelle, with Monica Michelle Marketing. I'm the solutions marketer, and I'm known for developing winning digital marketing strategies that shift business owners from being the best kept secrets to well-known experts with multiple revenue streams right here on the internet streets. Now, what we're focusing on with this particular podcast is how we all have to be committed to growth if we want our business to move forward. We have to grow ourselves individually and also grow and be committed to the growth of things in our business. And so today we have Kenitra Moselle. She is with us. And are we going by Kenitra Moselle? We have Kenitra Moselle here, and we are talking about all things growing through grief. Now, she has a book that's out that kind of dives deeper into that. But before we get into all the nitty gritty and all the good things, please, by all means, tell us a little more about you. Thank you for coming.
Likewise, I'm glad to be here. Shout out to Monica Michelle. The solution is in. My name is Kenitra Moselle. We can call me Kenitra, but when I introduce myself, you're going to get, hey, y'all, it's your girl, Kenitra Moselle. This is Grace for This community for women of faith, especially for women of faith, taking ownership of their wellness journey. And that is who I am. Whenever I come on camera, that is the introduction that I typically give because grief has been a part of my journey. Grief was a catalyst into my wellness journey. So growing through grief is a part of my personal story. And so I call myself the Growing Through Grief Coach because I know how to help you move through that. And Grace for This is on the wall behind me. And God has given me a model in my own personal story to walk other people through a grace journey so that they can evolve to the best versions of themselves. So that is me.
You're going to have to let us know. How does anybody, because I can think of other than the funeral home director, how in the world do you get involved in a business, a ministry, a belief system behind grief and grieving? Why is that appealing? Why was it appealing? Tell us your story.
You know what? Honestly, it's not appealing. I make it look good. It's not appealing, but I have been able to navigate some challenging processes with a natural type of joy. And grief was my catalyst into wellness work, right? And so I was introduced to widowhood at the age of 36 years old. And so grief pushed me into wellness. And so wellness pushed me into learning and understanding myself. And so I took ownership of what the grief journey could actually teach me. I learned so much. Oh my gosh. Hear me when I say I learned so much about myself because grief pushed me into wellness. My level of awareness has multiplied tremendously. And it is my business now to make sure that I'm going back into the community, back into circles of people who are ready to receive. And even though my target audience is women, especially women of faith, understanding grief and growing through grief is something that we need as human beings. And so inside of my journey, I found a pathway, a model. And so GRACE is an acronym. My community is Grace for This, but G stands for grief. R stands for rest. A stands for aid. C stands for community. And then lastly, we'll get to the evolve. I won't give you the full story of it yet, but I wanted to introduce that to you guys because when you choose to lean into the grief, you will evolve to the next best version of yourself, but you need to move through your grace journey.
Wow. That's definitely something that you have to be committed to in order to move through it, because I would venture to say, just as you never stop growing, you shouldn't stop growing, right? You're going to always change, but you shouldn't stop growing. You never really stop grieving in some form of fashion. Would you say that's accurate? Because we all have these different things that happen in our lives that happen to us, things that are sometimes out of our control, sometimes they're in our control, but it impacts our life. And we have upset sometimes about how it happened or why it happened that is no longer there. And so that's part of the journey. Can you speak a little bit to that? Or is there anything in your life that you have? I know you said you were a widow, but is there anything in your life that you grieved that you kind of went through that process of that journey through that you want to talk a little bit more about?
Oh, so let's debunk the myth that grief is exclusive to the loss of a person. You can grieve a person, place, or thing. It's a noun. You can grieve expectations. You can grieve the status of a relationship. You can grieve relocating. Your children can grieve when their parents go through a divorce. There's so many different things that you grieve, but in going through that grief journey, you grow. Why do you grow? So let's answer that question. Why do you grow? Because the version of you that existed before that hurt, that wound, that loss, that separation is gone. And whenever you encounter another person, place, or thing, you can refer back to how that thing aligns in proximity to the experience that you have had. So your lens and your outview on everything around you is going to change. And so what do you do when you are grieving relationships, friendships, the loss of a loved one, or unmet? You can grieve the life you had before you were a mother. To all our mamas out there who are starting businesses and committing to grow, you can grieve the version of you that did not have to breastfeed or that did not have to prepare meals. You can grieve being single as a newlywed. There are so many things that we can grieve, but what do you do when you realize that you missed that part of yourself, or that I am aware of the absence of it, and I like that version of me, but I don't get to be that person anymore? What do you do with that? You take ownership of the fact that it hurts. You decide to rest from grieving that thing because it's exhausting. And you pull into your community, you start asking for help. You cannot do everything by yourself. Take off the cape and ask for help. And the people who respond to your help are your community. And so you see where your community shows up. And when you go through that grace journey, then you evolve to the next best version of yourself. So grief is a journey, and you're forever growing and changing, but you got to own it so you can grow through it.
It's definitely a conversation we were having on another episode with Coach Ebony. She was talking about the same thing. The person that you are today, so you have a hope, a dream, a goal. So where are you trying to go? The person that you are today can't be the same person to achieve said goal.
That's right.
Because that person that has said goal is ready to manage and hold and have that goal. So therefore, who you are today, you're not ready to hold the goal because you haven't been through that space on the in between to get to the other side. And it's similar with grieving. Whatever that thing is, you no longer can do what you used to do. Whether you're grieving because now I'm not single anymore, or you're grieving because now I got 50 kids and we used to just be us, or I'm grieving because 50 kids gone and now it's just us.
Such a good verse.
Because now it's just me and you, and oh my God, I missed the kids. So it's a different person that's constantly showing up, and it's still a version. It's still you. It's just a different version of you, and that's so sweet to know and to see that there's these different sides of you that get to show up and flourish, right, in those different spaces. So tell me, do you have a story of something that may have happened to you and how you graced your way through it, or how God helped you grace your way through it, that you were grieving?
If I were to choose a specific story, I would point out the journey of self-discovery in the early stages of my grief journey and widowhood. Early stages of widowhood, I put all of my effort into grieving well for my husband. I put all of my effort into honoring who he was. I put effort into recognizing when something crossed my path that was his favorite color, or there was a song, or if there was anything that gave a semblance of Gerald, was my husband's name. If anything that gave me a semblance of Gerald, I put as much effort and energy into being a good wife as a widow. And when I finally decided to turn my attention to myself, I began to grieve the old version of me because I realized that I had not made myself a priority in my 36 years. I had not advocated for myself in ways that I should have. I had not created space for myself. I had not created moments for rest. I had, for the most part, made time my supervisor. I yielded myself to time and the demands of life and whatever came next. And so my grief journey transitioned from grieving my husband to grieving myself, because I realized that I had a very unhealthy practice in caring for myself. One particular moment that stands out to me, my sister from college was with me for a period of time, and she had to point out to me one time that I was sick. I'm a registered nurse. I have a master's degree in nursing. So I in science, right? She had to tell me, well, I don't think you feel good. And so she began to describe to me my symptoms. And then I realized, ma'am, you don't feel good. But I needed someone outside of me to point out to me that things were off with me. And that took me back. After I felt better, it took me back to realize that I was so unaware of myself and my body that I couldn't even recognize when I wasn't doing good. That was very hard to hear. It makes me a little teary-eyed even right now to think about it. But I'm so much better, and I grew through that moment. But I had to grieve the fact that I had existed for as long as I did with the training that I had, and was not able to identify what I needed to care for myself well. So I had to grieve the fact that, girl, you've been living like this for 36 years. Ma'am, why?
Say, all my life I had to fight.
It very, very, very peculiar, but it required a new level of honesty. And that's how you grow. That level of honesty is necessary.
So you have a community of people that are pulled together and they're all grieving something in some form of fashion. Everybody's not a widow, everybody's not, but everyone is grieving something or have grieved something. I was going to say the wrong word that I was going to make up word. Past tense grieving. Thank you.
No judgment.
So in the midst of that, with all these people that you pulled together, and even through your own life, are there some things that you have found to be consistent pillars to help move people through?
Oh, absolutely. The first thing I would say is community. The first thing that I would say is absolutely community. We have to be intentional about finding a safe place or either receiving the safe place, because some of us are in safe places, but we don't take advantage of them. And then some of us need to create safe spaces for ourselves. We need to give some boundaries and parameters in the relationships that we do have, and give people a chance to rise to the occasion to be the next best version of yourself that you have to be to keep this version of me around you. One, community. Secondly, I would say conversation. We need to talk about things. Why do we avoid certain conversations? We don't like to have the hard conversation. Denial and avoidance is big out here, baby. Can we just talk about it? If you can't have the conversation in words, can you have the conversation in writing? Can you have the conversation with yourself and God? Can you get a journal and just start to free flowingly write? That's a conversation. There is communication being had. It may not be audible, but you probably hear it in your head and your heart. It's still a conversation to be had. And then lastly, I'll say collaboration. We're real big on collaboration, especially inside of our community, because each of us is grieving something in particular. And one of the things that I say in our community is to build what helped you heal. And because all of our grieving experiences are different and our journeys are different, as you journal and archive what you have been through, you have a model of how to help somebody else move through it. So in essence, you're grieving, you're healing, and you're building. So now you can build what helped you heal. And so that creates an opportunity for collaboration. Well, what are you building? Well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Well, how can we work together? Well, how can I give energy to what you're doing? How can I support you? And so Monica Michelle, Kenitra Moselle, Grace for this, the Monica Michelle's marketing, it creates opportunities for collaboration. So those are three key elements: community, conversation, and collaboration, that I believe help us to grow and thrive together, because we are women who are like-minded, and we're already doing the grace work. We're already working in our grace journey. And so the community, the conversation, and collaboration, it puts the bow on the work you've already done, and it protects it from being tainted.
That definitely makes sense. And it makes all the sense as far as why the community exists and why it's needed and how you can move yourself through it. Now, I know people can find you on Instagram at Kenitra Moselle, on Facebook at Kenitra M. Mason, and then, of course, the lovely website at KenitraMoselle.com. But if someone is really just trying to go on this journey and they know that either they know that the grief is coming, something is getting ready to depart, or they know that I just went through something that I didn't quite deal with. I stuffed my feelings down or avoided it, right? Or whatever that looks like. I think I'm done with it. I think I'm good. I think I dealt with it, but I'm not sure. Or I'm just looking for a community of people to be around, because I know that as human beings, that we will have moments of grief. There's no way to not have these moments.
Period.
You alive? Great. You're going to grieve something somewhere at some point, at some time. So
Yep.
what's one thing that someone can do? Is there any advice that you have, or is there one tangible thing that you can suggest that people can do to be committed to the growth of going through this grief process?
Other than buying my book,
Hey,
I would say being honest with yourself. I don't think that there's a bigger level of commitment that you need to have to go through a grief journey well, more than being honest with yourself, because it takes honesty at each stage of the grace journey. You have to be honest about the fact that I am grieving. You need to be honest about the fact that you need to rest, because grieving is exhausting. You need to be honest about the fact that you don't have capacity to do certain things anymore. You need to ask for help. We don't like doing that. We want to be honest about the fact you need community. You're going to feel some kind of way when the people who you busted your back for are not available for you in the smallest ways, you're gonna feel the way about it. But what do you do with the people who do show up when you ask? And when you become the next best version of yourself, be honest with the fact that old sis is gone. But had to hit the blocks running because I cannot exist in that shape, form, or fashion anymore because that person is gone. So you have to be honest with yourself. Do not deny it. There is a healthy level of avoidance. Avoidance serves a purpose. Denial serves a purpose up until a point. When it starts to work against you, when the waves begin to crush you and you're not surfing the waves, herein lies the problem. So be honest with yourself and make room for the support that you need, with each level of honesty to serve you as you grow through your grace journey.
That's definitely good. That is good to be able to be self-aware and acknowledge and also give space to the things.
Mm-hmm.
Because what typically happens is we avoid it and we just let it play in the background while we're doing all the other things. Yeah. And we never go back and deal with it. So we just keep avoiding it, and then it pops up at the most inconvenient time.
Look here.
Oh, you thought you was going to speak on stage in front of 3,000 people? Not today.
Oh, literally, that's how it is. One of the things that I loved, I did grief coaching and I'm in therapy, right? Shout out to the therapists. Y'all need God and you need therapy. Grief coaching taught me how to grief plan. It taught me how to increase my level of awareness, and it taught me how to make room for emotions and feelings and tears and anger or whatever. It taught me to anticipate it and make room for it. And I manage myself very, very well. I don't suppress and I don't hold things in. I'm aware that it needs room, and then I make room for it. So it doesn't bust out of the back while I'm on my live. You're not having a full breakdown, but I will cry. Sis used to be a thug. Sis would not cry at all. Now I cry on the internet with other people. So it's very different. But the grief planning was a beautiful gift that my grief coach had. She wrote an article, and you can reach out to me and ask for that article as well. I will absolutely get it to you. But that was such a good resource because it taught me awareness and it taught me honesty, taught me to feel. Stop suppressing your feelings and your emotions and feel what it is. It's uncomfortable to feel at first. We don't want to feel. If I've been not feeling for 36 years, well, I will start feeling now. Attitude. So
you need to wrap you on up because you're trying to make me feel. See right here? Ain't got time. Not today. We're not doing that. Not today. You give me 5 when this is over, but not right now. So if you are in need of assistance in growing through grief, no matter what that grief looks like, a person, a place, a thing, a thought, an expectation, and a future, a past, whatever that grief moment is, whatever the thing is that you're moving through, you may think you good, but you'll be surprised to know that you ain't. And if you don't deal with it now, when you get 100, when you get 80, later down the road, whatever that is, you're going to start feeling some feelings and it's just going to pop up and you'll be like, when I was 2, no, go and deal with it. When it pops up, you can process it and keep moving forward, that it doesn't destabilize you, that you can move forward. I just want to say thank you so much for taking this time to join us today to talk about.
Go ahead and fix them.
Tell us again one more time where to find us, and then we will give you all the good things and let you know what's coming up.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Monica, for having me. I have enjoyed this conversation. I love talking about it. You can find me at KenitraMoselle.com. Kenitra Moselle, you can see how to follow Grace for This. You can find all of our Instagram handles. We have a Wellness Work Wednesday that we do to help you grow through your grief. And so you can follow that page on Instagram at Grace for This. So KenitraMoselle.com, and there you will find all of the Grace for This things.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And listen, I know that you are committed to growing, and I know that you are committed to progressing in life and doing better. And so she's giving you the path if you need assistance in growing through grief. And I know you're going to be excited for what we have coming up in the next episode, because here we are committed to growth. And I'll see you on the internet streets. Bye.